Good morning. Good morning. It's Shatanice Reese here with Super Extraordinary Mom, and today is day 9, and we are talking about your social media footprint. And so, as like other videos, before we dive in, who am I? I am your 20-year HR professional who has conducted a ton of interviews and reviewed a number of resumes. And so, I want to share some resume and interview tips with you. We have been on a 14-day journey, and as I stated, today is day 9. The first 8 days have gone by so quickly, and we've talked about a wide variety of topics, from what you should have on the top of your resume to whether you should have a functional or a chronological resume, and what you should do when you are networking at an event. So, what are we talking about today? Again, your social media footprint. What exactly does that mean? So, where are you on social media? Meaning Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of these social media outlets. If an employer searched you, what would they find? And so I know that sometimes people think, well, that's my private life, and an employer shouldn't be bothered with or concerned with what I do in my private life. There's some truth to that, but there's also a responsibility for you to be aware, and especially depending on the role for which you're applying, that what you do in your private life may in fact impact how you're perceived at a future company. So it's so important for you to be aware of your social media footprint. So what I want you to do is, number one, Google yourself. So that sounds a little odd, but yes, go to Google, type in your name, and see what comes up, because that will be an indication of what's out there, what's out on social media as soon as your name is entered into the search engine. I also want you to think about all of your settings. So if you're active on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, whatever the case may be, can anyone access your profile, or do you have it set where it's private? Depending on who you are and what you want to have shown out there for the world to see, you could certainly set all of your profiles to private. Keep in mind, now, if an employer does search, they won't be able to find too much of anything. There are a number of policies that are coming out and regulations, and nothing too firm as of yet, in terms of what a company can and can't do in terms of social media. So the companies can still search. The key is, and so you'll know, companies have to be consistent in their search. So if they search for on social media for me, they should also do it for anyone else in the pool, or they need to have clear criteria in terms of, we're only searching on the top 3 candidates or the top 5 candidates. And so it's incumbent upon HR departments and recruiters to be very clear in their selection process, so that there's not any adverse impact. And what that means is, so that they're not inadvertently ruling out people that they should actually include in their pool. So it's really, really tricky. And only the hiring managers, I'm sorry, only the recruiting or HR managers, or the individuals who are in HR, should be conducting those searches. So I can hear groans now, because I know that there are a number of departments and hiring managers and people on the search committee that want to do their own social media research. You can really open yourselves up from an employer's perspective for liability. If for some reason, if someone is not selected and they find out that someone in the department or in the company was searching on their social media, and they made a decision based on what was found. Now, there are clear delineations. So, for example, if a search is done and we discover that their activity is morally or illegal, then the company would have grounds for not hiring that person, but they have to be so clear. It's such a slippery slope. And so you have to be so careful and so clear on your selection processes. So that's the first thing. The first thing is Google yourself. The second thing is think about your privacy settings. And the third thing is, if you want to be your authentic self and you don't want to worry about if an employer is going to find you or search for you on social media, you may consider having two different types of profiles. I know people do that on a regular basis. So they have their public facing self and then they have their private self. And their private self is only available for individuals who are closest to them, or those that they select to be a part of that. That's absolutely okay and something that you may want to consider. And as I mentioned in my networking video, definitely if you're on LinkedIn, number one, if you are in an industry where it's prevalent for you to be connected on LinkedIn, you've got to get a LinkedIn profile. That's number one. Number two, if you are on LinkedIn, you can actually look at your profile in two different ways. So you can see your profile the way that you see it, and then you can also see your profile the way that others see it, or when they come to visit your profile. So I would encourage you to take a look at that from a visitor's perspective. Make certain that what they're seeing is what you want them to see. I recently attended a session with Greg Burkhalter, the LinkedIn guy, and he talked about making certain that, for example, your activity, that can be kind of distracting if people are viewing your LinkedIn profile. And also on the right-hand side, Greg talked about how sometimes, or not sometimes, but you can see when you are looking at your profile, on the right-hand side, it will say other people also viewed. And there's a list of other profiles that were viewed. You can change those. You can change that so that when people are visiting your profile, they don't see that. So again, you check out your settings in LinkedIn, kind of finagle, move around, and see what you need to do. One other tip about LinkedIn is when you make changes to your profile, depending on if you have this on or off, your entire network can see those changes. So you can actually turn that off so that you can make changes, and that your entire network is not informed of all the changes that you're making. So check your settings. And just one more shameless plug for the LinkedIn guy. If you don't know who he is, check out Greg Burkhalter, because he has tons of great tips on LinkedIn. So in review, number one, Google yourself so you can see what is out there on your social media, out there on the internet. Number two, check your settings. You want to see if you want to be seen and easily accessible by the outside public or not. And number three, check out your LinkedIn profile specifically. Go to settings and make certain that the profile is accurately depicting what you want it to depict, because your social media footprint is important, whether you want to accept it or not. This is the age in which we live. This is the technology age. And so also keep in mind that what you put out there does not disappear. I know that people are on Snapchat and they have these disappearing stories. Once it's out there, it's out there. So if you are in the mode for job searching, keep that in mind. Oh, and one last thing. Also, you can change your settings so that you review any tags. This is especially pertinent for Facebook. And I know that on Twitter, you can set your settings so that you cannot be tagged in any photos. So you may want to consider that, especially if you have some friends who like to just like to get lit or they like to really have a lot of fun, and you may not necessarily want to get associated or be associated with that type of activity. Check to see in your settings that you review all tags before they're actually posted, because you being tagged with someone, even if you're not actually in the picture, that can also contribute to your social media footprint. That's it for today. Again, my name is Shatanice Reese. Thank you so much for joining me. Wanted to share an early morning session again for my early morning risers. And tomorrow is, drum roll please, day 10. and we will talk about your elevator pitch. What is it? What are the components? And why is it important to have it? So check me out tomorrow, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.